Greetings and welcome. Um, Day two, principle two of the Sector 39 Permaculture Design course. And this is such an important principle. And if the first principle was about observation, and we've embracing the idea that nature's our teacher, we want to learn from nature. Nature has patterns and processes, obviously, that's shaping everything in the world around us. So if nature is our teacher, what is it that nature teaches us? And it's this: it's catch and store energy. The icon, the picture is a sun in a bottle, um, representing energy, solar energy that has been captured, maybe in the form of food or I don't know, milk or anything, juice. That represents solar energy that has been captured and stored. The saying, again, don't know if it's fully culturally translates, but make hay while sun shines. Hay means harvesting your grasses so that you can dry them and store them to use to feed your animals in the winter. And we only have a few sunny days, towards the end of the summer when the grasses are ripe. So you make sure when your opportunity comes, you take it as well. So there's a strategic element to this. Okay, take a few steps back. I think this is what the next sequence of ideas is absolutely key to what we need to think about, and it's this: that yeah, we experience energy in all sorts of forms, but actually it's all stored energy. All this stored energy represents some kind of fossilized energy or some kind of ecological capital. So if you work with a tree, piece of wood, that represents energy that has been captured and stored by a living thing, by a tree, and by you consuming that and using that, you're using, you're using up ecological capital, stored energy that has been, there before, trapped sunlight from previous times. So within this sits the idea that if we harvest energy from natural systems faster than those natural systems can replenish them, then we will have a negative impact over time. And this is what the first paragraph really is telling us. Inappropriate concepts of wealth have led us to ignore opportunities to capture local flows of both renewable forms of energy. Okay. Inappropriate concepts of wealth. That means we saw loads of fossilized stored energy that's built there over millions of years and thought, hey, we're fantastically rich. We can, because we've got a lot of this resource, we can now spend it, stupidly. We can use it in all sorts of crazy different ways. Um, and having all of this stored energy, and I really do mean, well, whole forests to cut down, soils to plow up, reserves of coal, gas, oil, limestone, organic material that's been trapped on the surface of the earth over millions of years. This is what we mean by non-renewable resources. They are fossilized. They've built up there over a very long time period, and we're consuming them in a very short time period. Now, compared to oil, the heat of just sunshine is the energy of just of a bit of sunshine is it's no comparison. But the hugest challenge is that we will have to make a transition to living on our income, not our capital. We should be using our ecological capital to build systems which catch and store energy, so that we can become better at it. And there's no better way of translating the energy of the sun into a stored form of energy than plants. The way to do it is with plants. And later in the day, we'll go further into photosynthesis, but this is so key, is that the only new energy coming into the system is from the sun. And the only sort of living organisms that can translate the energy of the sun into a stored form of energy is plants. Plants can use solar energy to create sugars, starches, carbohydrates, stored form of energy, which then obviously ourselves and other organisms can live on. We all have to build a relationship for plants to get our energy, to get our sugars and carbohydrates. Now, humans, we're really clever, aren't we? We built stuff, and we built things like solar panels, so we're very good at capturing solar energy too. But how do we use those solar panels to turn that into sugar, into something that we can eat? It seems that teaming up with plants is a very good strategy for catching and storing energy. Obviously, 10,000 years of agriculture, or whatever, 2 million years, whatever, hunter gatherers. This is how we get our energy, is through plants. And all living organisms on the planet need to build a relationship with plants to get sugar. It's the only way you can get it. It's a very easy form of energy. So David Holmgren's warning to us, or caution to us, is that because we seemingly live in a time when energy is abundant, we're overlooking these very available natural flows of energy, which we can catch and store, we can accumulate. And by that I mean things like compost. We can build soil that becomes increasingly fertile as we work at it. Now, and another way that we could look at that is, well, we're building ecological capital by doing those things. So, identifying and acting on these opportunities can provide the energy with which we can rebuild capital, as well as provide income for our immediate needs. So, some of the sources of energy that maybe we could harvest better: sun, wind, and especially where water's running off, surface flows of water. Other wasted resources that might come from agricultural, industrial, or commercial activities. I think a significant thing that's overlooked, or a significant resource which is there for us to understand is available, is this annual surplus of narrow diameter, twigs, sticks, grasses, leaves, all of these things which grow very, in the annual cycle and decay and compost very quickly. We can interact with these processes. We can catch and store, and then later release all energy in many different forms. So the most important stockpiles of future value in a real way is what? Fertile soil with a high humus content, perennial vegetable systems, and especially trees that yield foods and other useful resources. Stored bodies of water, tanks, but also forests, living systems, passive solar buildings. These all represent strategies to catch and store energy, or are themselves stored energy. Planting a forest is an energy reserve. Planting a forest is also a water reserve. A forest contains trillions of gallons of water, which is constantly circulating and rehumidifying the air as well. So we catch and store energy. Beginnings to think about this principle transforms our whole idea of value. What has real value? Now, as an economics teacher, I can push on this one a little bit, because it's something that fascinates me. We think that money is important. We've been confused to think that money is the thing that has value. Money is just the thing that facilitates exchange between people. The only value is created by the sun shining and plants growing in fertile soil. And we harvest those plants and we process them into foods, and you know, so in that sense, we have created real value. And that the capital that underpins that value is the soil. So the proverb, make hay while the sun shines, that reminds us that catching energy is strategic and time-based, and we must make the most of opportunities as they arise. Okay, Good. So this is such a key one for me, and we're going to reflect about it on it all day, and we're going to think about different strategies to catch and store energy. Behind me is an image of raised bed um, built by a group of local farmers, and they're learning about how to build soil. They're learning about the components of soil, and now they're starting to value things like dry grasses and sticks and animal dung, maybe grey water from hand washing. It's now got somewhere to go, and we can start feeding a soil and developing a system that is itself then better at harvesting the energy of the sun and better holding on to the moisture of when it rains. So catch and store energy. And this lovely keyhole bed behind me is just a great way to demonstrate that to people and show them how we just start, we can, through design, by observing and interacting, we can have an intention in mind. Let's support our own food security. Developing a small bed isn't going to feed me the whole me all year round or my whole family, but it will help. And in the process of doing that, I'm going to gain insight and experience into the nature of soil building and the nature of catching and storing solar energy through plants. And I'm now beginning to go on a journey that I also am beginning to understand that, hey, this journey is going to have, many laps around the circuit. I've got a long way to go before I fully understand how all of these processes work. But I'm getting an intuition about what I must do. So start to look around and see where there might be opportunities to catch and store energy, to interrupt those natural flows of resources that are happening, and think, can I slow them down? Can I find ways in which I can, integrate them ultimately into productive systems? So, and I would say this is, you might not know where exactly you're going to build your garden or how you're going to, what plants you're going to grow, but you won't regret making compost, even if you're not quite sure how you're going to use it straight away. And because a very simple example, just a simple example really of beginning the process of catching and storing energy, even without necessarily yet having a clear idea about how you're going to use that to achieve the next step, which is principle 3. And we'll be looking at that tomorrow. Thank you for listening.